each and every one of you to this session, the budget defense session. I want to assure you that we are going to be as brief as possible. It's only where we are not too clear about the presentation that we're going to ask questions. We are familiar with you, and of course, one of the presentation you are making to us, your budget is one of the very smallest budgets, that the executive brought into the National Assembly. We have looked at it, and the only thing is, if we had the powers, by virtue of what we believe your objective is supposed to be, what your responsibility is supposed to be, you should have a whole lot of funds allocated to you for to get the desired result. But I want to use this opportunity to say again and again, because the last year's budget defense during that session, I made it very clear that if the federal government of Nigeria, with all the arms of government, are serious about fighting corruption, the first line is the Auditor-General's office, the Auditor-General of the Federation. No doubt that if we are able to put our audit system in place properly, and we are able to check the government, the accounts of the Federation properly, of course, whatever is allocated to all the MDAs, we are able to audit them, we are able to put them in proper perspective or in checks. Of course, the issue of corruption will be reduced tremendously in our country. But the audit system we are running right now is such that our MDAs, and indeed the account of the Federation, is not subjected to any precaution in terms of checking corruption. Rather, our resources are plowed into agencies that are fighting corruption. In which case, we allow corruption to happen first before using the agents of government, EFCC, ICPC, police, and the rest to start looking for people that, of course, have shortchanged the Nigerian people in terms of our public funds. So I expect that what you need to do, having the right personnel in the audit office, having the resources that you need to be able to carry out your functions. There are things that, of course, that we have thought of in the National Assembly, particularly in the Senate, when we pass the Federal Audit Bill to the Executive for the President to sign. Indeed, the Federal Audit Bill has not seen the signature of Mr. President, and we expect that this nice Senate, being one of our own legislative agenda, we are going to ensure that our audit bill is signed into law. When it is signed into law by Mr. President, I believe Part A of that bill, when it becomes an act, is going to strengthen the office of the Auditor-General for the Federation. And then Part B, which has to do with the establishment of the Federal Audit Commission, where you are going to have the right personnel trained that will carry out auditing, of the accounts of the Federation. I think if we are able to do that, we would have begun the journey in the right direction in checking corruption in Nigeria. I want to say that what we have here, because the greater part of your budget really is going to be on the recurring side. You don't have a lot to do with what you have to do with capital. So whether the country spends 10%, 20%, or 60%, or 100% on capital, expenditure every year, the office of the Auditor-General for the Federation should really not be too perturbed, because everything that you have to do has to be on the recurring side. So in which case, the overhead part of your budget is the one really that must have the funds with which to carry out your function. So after the budget defense, we are going to look at it very closely. I still intend to make a presentation on behalf of this committee and indeed the National Assembly to the leadership that what is being provided for is such that this office may not be able to function maximally. because I have looked at it. If we were to do training, and we were to do a whole lot of things that we are expected to do, the funds provided certainly would not be enough. That being the case, we also expect that the Federal Audit Bill that is waiting, for the kind consideration of Mr. President and possible assent as quickly as possible, will equally put your office in proper perspective. I think this is my observation. It's going to be my remark for now. My colleagues too, I'll see the ground to them, to make their own comments before we go into the business of the day. Thank you.